to provide gravitas and provide presidential support. Let us, participants, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank Mr. President for believing in this process of the Cabinet Retreat 2023 from inception to execution with a Cabinet Retreat round of applause. Mr. President. We thank you, sir. You may be seated. Thank you very much indeed. And as we round off this very successful Cabinet Retreat 2023, we salute, of course, those who have put it together, in the lead being the Special Advisor on Policy and Coordination, but a man who has been the engine room for all of the activities you have seen here today, and under whose leadership the President has trusted the Renewed Hope agenda with his ministers and permanent secretaries, has been the very distinguished Senator George Akume, His Excellency the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, who will come forward to give the synthesis of key recommendations from the technical sessions. Your Excellency, sir.
President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, CFR, GCFR. Your Excellency, the National Chairman of our great party, Ganduje, the Chief of Staff, the Head of Service, Honorable Ministers, Permanent Secretaries, Presidential aides, our partners, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, on Wednesday, you declared the retreat open, and you challenged in a very meaningful and purposeful manner the honorable ministers and the permanent secretaries to rise up to the occasion. I believe they have accepted the challenge. This retreat is coming to a close today, and it is my honor to put before you the synthesis of key recommendations from technical sessions. Over the last couple of days, we have had some very productive deliberations and heard from many experts across different fields. Many of you have recommended a number of things, and we have a lot of work to be done. I will be highlighting a subset of some of the key recommendations. Administrative processes of the government. It's recommended that we raise the approval threshold for public procurement and encourage open bidding for transparency. Memos are to be submitted to the Cabinet Office ahead of time. Example, by end of day on Wednesdays for analysis, with the permanent secretaries before the Federal Executive Council meeting. We're to improve alignment of the budget for the MDAs to the President's vision, strategic goals, and relevant KPIs. To formulate a standardized checklist detailing appointment criteria for guidance of ministers and heads of agencies. Allow ministers presenting memoranda at FEC to be accompanied by their permanent secretaries to hasten information flow. Evaluate the efficiency of previous federal government intervention programs and conduct proper pre- and post-project assessment to determine the efficacy of the programs. Improve judicial process by allowing promoted judges to complete pending cases in their new positions. Revive the Executive Legislature Conference tripartite meetings to discuss pre-budget issues ahead of time. Define consequences and accelerate prosecution of individuals and companies that do not complete contracts awarded to them. Policies and priorities for the renewed hope agenda. 1, reform the economy to deliver sustained inclusive growth. The following are to be implemented. Reform tariff structure to enable trade while still supporting domestic production. Incorporate more equity financing rather than debt financing for fiscal operations. Ensure annual budget is aligned with strategic priorities. Review the implication of forward contracts on the economy. Set up a steering committee to review the issues around the national single window. 2, strengthen national security for peace and prosperity. These are to be implemented. Intensify efforts to block revenue leakages in the police force. And engage with governors to strengthen security at local government levels while addressing issues of autonomy and governance. Have a collaborative and collective approach at state level to address security challenges in collaboration with the federal government. Develop and facilitate effective information gathering and sharing mechanisms between and among states, communities, and the federal government. Prioritize the cleanup of Ogoni communities. 3, boost agriculture to achieve food security. Under this focus area, we are to implement these. Utilize technology to increase agricultural yield. Intensify efforts to erect the green wall to stop encroachment of desert in the northern part of Nigeria. Intensify efforts to reduce post-harvest losses by driving investments into storage and value addition. Embark on efforts to check coastal erosion. Enhance dry season farming and promote commercial livestock farming. 4, unlock energy and natural resources for sustainable development. Under this, we are to develop a 10-year plan to increase power generation capacity in line with the country's needs. set up a super grid in line with the nation's generation targets, and create semi-autonomous regional grids. Overhaul the structure and coverage of the distribution companies, these are DISCOs. Revitalize a roadmap for the steel industry. Revive power plant projects that have been previously paused, including the Ajaokuta Steel Plant. Engage with OPEC to increase Nigeria's crude oil production quota. Drive investments into upstream petroleum sector with clear targets while making provisions for sanctions for non-performance and inefficiencies. 5, focus on education, health and social development as essential pillars of development. Here, one were to open up the sports sector for business by attracting infrastructure incentives and investments. Accelerate the attainment of universal health coverage. Foster grassroots effort to prevent and mitigate humanitarian crises. Improve governance for effective service delivery. Here, government is enjoined to improve capacity by training civil servants in critical areas aligned with strategic priorities. Institute stepwise digitization of all the MDAs in government. Invest in technology to save cost, time, and reduce corruption. Ensure merit as the basis of the inclusivity priority. Ensure civil servants get competitive compensation. Roll out official emails for all civil servants above a particular level. Infrastructure and transportation as enablers of growth. Under Aviation Ministry and Space Development, inadequate infrastructure in the industry is to be addressed. Government is to encourage local airline operators. Regulatory agencies must enforce safety standards, and the need to develop a master plan for the industry cannot be overemphasized. Under the works sub-component, there is need for proper budgeting for all the projects in the ministry. The Lagos-Calabar corridor is a novelty and should be extended to other sections of our routes. This new approach under the new administration will also see to the completion of 5,000 kilometers of road per year. The transportation sub-unit, there is the need to complete the railway standard gauge. 2, there is also the need to improve the old alignment in the interim to convey passengers and goods. FCT subsector. The Abuja Master Plan should be restored. 2, new districts should be created to ensure that citizens have access to land for residential and commercial purposes. Security within the metropolis to be tackled headlong. Under housing, the need to revisit the Land Use Act is important, as there are some impediments in the Act that limit access to land. There is also the need to revisit the Act creating the Federal Mortgage Bank and the Federal Housing Authority to ensure that their role in delivery of houses for the people is enhanced. New designs of affordable housing are encouraged. Under the Marine and Blue Economy subunit, it is proposed that scanners be used instead of physical verification of goods at the port. There is also the need to reduce the number of agencies operating at the ports. The number is to be reduced from 11 to 4. We welcome the establishment of more ports. We'll move to the next focus area. Accelerate diversification through industrialization, digital economy, cultural and creative economy. Under the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Investment, we know the growing of new sources to earn new sources of revenue for the purpose of earning foreign exchange. By focusing on solid minerals, agro-processing, amongst others, integration of value chains, and applying technology to production. Under the Ministry of Technology, it is proposed that emphasis be placed on development, that is commercialization, rather than research findings. Training and skills certification are proposed. Welders, masons are needed, not locally only, but also internationally. I remember when I visited Germany in December last year, our host told us that they had a shortfall of over 100,000 positions in these particular areas, welders, masonry, and so on. Communication proposes emphasis on technology too. for productive purposes, was also enjoined to prioritize artificial intelligence. Your Excellency, move to the final one, performance management to enable delivery and execution. Were to institute consequence management at all levels. Good behavior should be rewarded and bad behavior should be punished. Establish performance-based compensation for civil servants tied to appraisal and without interference. Ensure every MDA defines targets for investment attraction. Your Excellency, President, distinguished participants, this is the synthesis of the key recommendations from technical sessions. Thank you very much.
His Excellency, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, has spoken well. He has accepted the challenge of His Excellency, the President. He has outlined the priorities of the Renewed Hope agenda, and he has mentioned that there will be sanctions for non-performance. He has accepted this assignment with both hands, knowing, of course, that the ministers are lined up behind him, and the permanent secretaries are lined up behind the head of the civil service of the Federation in delivering on the Renewed Hope agenda. We thank you, sir. Let's hear another round of applause for the SGF. Your Excellency, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Excellencies on the top table, we do have the performance bond to be signed in a short while after one speech to be made. And I'd like to put the honorable ministers who are going to come and sign this performance bond on notice in this order. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture, the Honorable Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, the Coordinating Minister of Health, the Honorable Minister of Power, the Honorable Minister of Works, the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, and the Honorable Minister of Youth. After the next lineup of activity, we will be getting these ministers to come forward and sign the performance bond. In the meantime, it's my pleasure to invite to the podium the chairperson, Retreat Organizing Committee, the Special Advisor to the President, Policy and Coordination, Hajia Hadiza Bala Usman, to come and speak to us on understanding the delivery mechanism for the Renewed Hope agenda. Please encourage her. She has spent sleepless nights.
Your Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, His Excellency, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, the Head of Service, Dr. Folashade Yemi Asan, the Chief of Staff, the Chairman of our great party, Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje, our Honorable Ministers, Presidential Aides, our technical support team, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to quickly talk us through what is seen to be the delivery mechanism for the Renewed Hope Manifesto. We have details of the sections that will quickly take us through delivery, what it is, why it's important to us, and why it's been understood globally as the means to achieve delivery within the shortest period in an administration. We have the FGN's delivery ecosystem, which is the institutional arrangement for the delivery of the Renewed Hope agenda. The FGN delivery tools will be detailed timelines to note by the respective ministers and the expectations we have from the ministers arising from the delivery. We have the details of the promise that the CDCU will provide to ministers and indeed the cabinet, and I'll quickly conclude on that. As we all are aware, government delivery mechanism is simply a specialized approach to designing, managing, and monitoring the implementation of a set of agreed priorities of government. This is intended to have a significant impact on the development outcomes. This is typically done through a delivery unit. A lot of us will be familiar with the commencement of the Global Delivery Unit trend, which was started by the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Mr. Tony Blair. He started off this trend, which has taken a life of its own. It's really a small group of dedicated, highly skilled individuals trained in delivery techniques to monitor and ensure that the outcomes specified in defined priorities are achieved by an administration. What is it we do, and why are delivery units important to us as a government? Delivery units really help us to enhance our accountability within the system of government. It provides the details with which we can improve efficiency. It's also based on data-driven decision-making. We need to be mindful of the fact that a lot of times decisions are not taken based on data, and also accountability is not determined by data that has been aggregated over a period. We have seen that a lot of times data are provided that do not speak to the actual implementation. This is why the delivery unit has sought to partner extensively with the Ministry of Budget and National Planning and the Bureau of Statistics, which will provide verified data on the information that has been provided by ministries as results around the delivery of their outcomes. There's also the need and the alignment with presidential priorities. Mr. President has detailed his priorities and all the deliverables and key performance indicators that the ministries have aligned to are taken from the presidential priorities that have been so detailed and discussed extensively with the ministries during the bilateral sessions that was held over a period of 3 weeks between the CDCU, our team, and the respective ministries. There's also the clear trust around a faster implementation. We're all familiar with the bottlenecks that exist within implementation of projects and priority. So the delivery unit will seek to improve and expedite the implementation of government policies and programs by setting clear timelines and monitoring the progress. This is to ensure that the benefits of these initiatives reach the public quickly within a specified period, recognizing that we campaign extensively to deliver these initiatives, and we seek to ensure that they're done within the shortest period. There's also the issue of cross-ministerial collaboration. We've noted evidently that there are areas of overlaps within the course of implementation, and result delivery units seek to enhance that collaboration and also to identify critical areas of enhanced synergy that is required. A quick instance of this is in 2017, we're seeking to improve on dairy farming, and investors were invited and they were keen to invest and they had committed funds. On the other side, an announcement was made that the import duty tariff of dairy products was reduced, and this was completely conflicting policy positions that were announced literally at the same time, and that causes a challenge within implementation. And these are cross-ministerial collaborations because on the one hand, Agric was striving to improve dairy investment in the country, while the other side, the Ministry of Finance was working on tariffs. So that absence of collaboration resulted in a conflict whereby you have different ministries working not necessarily at the same purpose. There's also the clear need for increased transparency. Where you have a delivery unit, it casts a spotlight on issues around governance. There's clarity on the need for everyone to provide that transparent and accessible implementation mechanism, which will foster public trust in government. It will show that the government is committed in delivering its promises, but is also doing that through an open system where everybody is clear on what it is that it's doing. Of course, the delivery unit provides a razor-sharp focus to execution through its very strict routines and emphasis on issues resolution. It also has clear lines of accountability thereby entrenching responsibility and discipline within the system. I think discipline is the key word that we need to take away, recognizing that we need to be disciplined within the public sector space to ensure that we deliver within the specified timeline. There's also the clear line of accountability, which everybody needs to understand and hold on to your own area of work to ensure that you'll be held accountable. There's a mechanism in ensuring that what is planned gets done by enforcing fiscal discipline and efficient resource allocation. Resource allocation has been set to be a key issue that challenges our delivery. We have sought to ensure that the 2024 budgets are all drawn around the deliveries and key priorities of Mr. President. So the call circular that was issued by the Ministry of Budget and National Planning clearly specified that all resource allocations should be tied to Mr. President's priorities, and we will monitor to ensure that is done. There's, as I keep saying, effective coordination of government efforts towards providing Mr. President a bird's-eye view of performance across priority areas. Mr. President needs to see within a glance where he is at in delivering on his promises to Nigeria. So that's an integral part of what the delivery unit will be providing. Okay, this is the ecosystem. It basically speaks to the structure with which the institutional key roles of the delivery process. We have the Office of the Special Advisor providing and coordinating the entire delivery process on behalf of Mr. President. We also have the institutional roles of the offices, the Central Delivery Unit, the delivery tasks that are within the ministries, the Office of the Head of Service of the Federation, department and agencies of government. There's also, as I keep referencing, the Federal Ministry of Budget and National Planning and the National Bureau of Statistics. This is an integral part of our implementation mechanism, and we have engaged with the ministry to ensure that they provide us the backbone of verification of data, because sometimes we speak to improving the livelihoods of Nigerians, we speak to improving the data and indices on healthcare, but we do not have the verifiable data that speaks to the fact that we've achieved those targets. So the National Bureau of Statistics will provide us with that verifiable data that we'll use to make the submissions to Mr. President to clarify if indeed we have met those targets. And recognizing Nigerians also lean on that data to confirm whether things have been achieved or not. So that centralization of data and ownership of the baseline that we use to develop our submission to Mr. President is very important. The FGN delivery tools are clear. There's a performance bond which details key performance indicators and deliverables of each ministry. Those documents will be signed today, and every minister will be bound by that to ensure he performs within the specified period. There's also the result framework. This logically connects the deliverables to the outcomes and provides the performance matrix for periodic measurement of progress in the achievement of both the deliverables and the priorities. The tracking mechanism template is a simple template that will be made available to all ministries for periodic tracking of the progress in the implementation of the deliverables. Bottleneck resolution is a key aspect of what we will do, ensuring that issues and bottlenecks that have been identified to hinder performance and delivery are addressed within the shortest period. We also have the performance content management dashboard, which I reference as the repository of all performance data. It indeed provides the view on where we are on all our performance indicators, and it also gives a warning system that triggers timely actions to ensure set targets are met. We're not going to wait until we have missed our target before we speak to it, but we have those triggers that will indicate that those deliverables will not be met within the specified time, and will debottleneck it and escalate it to the necessary head of agency ministry, and indeed Mr. President where necessary, to ensure that those timelines are met and the trigger as it is provided achieves its purpose. There's also the Presidential Delivery Tracker. This is a mobile app that enables third-party monitoring by allowing citizens to monitor and report on key projects of ministries as delivered in their deliverables. This is an application that fosters citizen engagement, and recognizing that we're a democratic system where we campaign extensively, so we need to have our citizens being part of monitoring what we do. So it's an important app that we're going to ensure it has wide coverage, and every Nigerian is able to tell us where we are. And that also takes away the burden of monitoring from us, where we have citizens being part of what it is that we're able to clarify. This is the delivery app, and I think I've spoken about that already. The tracker which we would ensure has maximum outage in Nigerians, and they'll be able to track it. So as I conclude, these are timelines that we need to note. In the first instance, Q4 2023, which is where we are today, we're going to sign our performance bonds with Mr. President, the ministers, and the permanent secretaries. There will be a quarterly performance review and verification. This will be done in Q1 2024, where we're going to assess status of implementation of our deliverables. Also, within the same Q1, we're going to prepare a performance report and briefing to Mr. President on how far we've gone in achieving our timelines within Q1 to understand what has been achieved and where we need to enhance debottlenecking or enhance synergy and collaboration. There is then the half-year performance review with spot checks. At the middle of the year, we're going to do an assessment with verifiable spot checks. In the instance of projects, there will be on-site visit. In the instance of areas where we are data-driven, we will lean on NBS and other data repositories to verify where we are in achieving those targets. At the end of Q3, we would work on reviewing and verification to prepare for annual performance scorecard, which will determine where each ministry is on an annual basis in determining its achievements. This also, as I keep referencing, there's a budget component in terms of budget implementation, where we are on budget performance. Budget performance and delivery of KPIs are interlinked, which again speaks to our enhanced collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Budget and National Planning. Expectations from ministers is quite simple and straightforward. We will provide you with support with your delivery task teams to organize a step-down ministerial retreat with all your agencies to develop a roadmap for the implementation of the ministerial deliverables. Some of the ministries have held their retreats, some have not. We encourage that they do that and report back to ensure that there's full ownership and cascading of these deliverables to your agencies, who are really your implementation arms. There's also preparing the delivery plans for each deliverable and identify key policies and programs and projects that will be implemented towards achieving the deliverables. A funding plan, which I've spoken to, which sits within our 2024 budget preparation, and also the consequent following years, 2025, 26, and 27 budgets. We will all be required to map out deliverables to implementing agencies being supervised by ministries. We reference and we're clear that every ministry needs to recognize the role of its agencies under it and ensure they deliver, because you can't deliver outside of what your agency is mandated to do. So you must cascade and have them implement and hold their ownership. There's also the need to strengthen the Department of Planning, Research, and Statistics in every ministry for effective coordination of implementation of the deliverables. We do have those ministries, and they have been working extensively with the minister, but I'll encourage you to engage them extensively, and I'll encourage ministers to ensure that they have full utilization of the resources they have within the ministries. While you may have your professional team as your special assistants that you came with, but it's important for you to engage the mainstream departments, because that is where we build our institutions. We cannot function and implement our project in silos, because there's a need for sustainability and building our institutions. So we must ensure that we have a step down where we engage our agencies. There's also, final point, invest in a fit-for-purpose data management system that will meet the needs of the ministries and agencies. And in this regard, we would also call on the Minister for Digital Economy to support in ensuring these fit-for-purpose data management systems are entrenched, and those data systems need to speak to each other, so there's a handshake whereby we're able to connect at any time we so wish to do. Our promise of support is we'll be available to provide necessary support to the ministries, would be available to debottleneck every issues with the support of Mr. President. We will work to resolve any issue you have within the shortest period. We will strengthen your policy coordination among governments and units across areas. We also recognize the fact that the subnationals are a key aspect of our implementation, so we would also ensure that we strengthen that collaboration within ministries and also with subnational state governments, especially in the area of education, agriculture, and healthcare with subnationals. Of course, our assessments will be evidence-based, so ministries are enjoined to ensure that every performance claim is backed by a verifiable source of evidence. During the course of our bilateral sessions, we had a very curious interaction where some permanent secretaries actually said, you know, during the last session, some of the data we gave was not correct. So we enjoin everybody to make sure that they provide the correct data, because we will verify using internationally recognized repository of data. All communications on the delivery process can be made available to my email address as provided before. So I thank you all for listening, and I would once again like to thank Mr. President for giving us all the support in the preparation of the retreat and also giving the strengthened, support that the delivery unit requires to deliver its mandate. So thank you very much, Mr. President, and we look forward to ensuring that we meet up our obligations within the shortest period. Thank you, sir.
Would like to thank the Special Advisor on Policy and Coordination for her well thought out delivery mechanisms for the Renewed Hope agenda. There's no gainsaying the fact that a lot of work went into that. Your Excellency, Mr. President, sir, I have instructions that only one minister will sign the performance bond in a symbolic process for all other ministers. I have instructions that only one minister will sign the performance bond on behalf of all other ministers. May I now call on the Honorable Minister of Agriculture to come forward and sign the performance bond. Performance bond signed on behalf of all other ministers by the Honorable Minister of Agriculture. And as you heard from the Special Advisor on Policy and Coordination, there would be reviews, half-year and annual reviews. These performance bonds are to ensure that everybody keeps to task. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Agriculture. At this point, it is my singular pleasure and honor to invite every minister has signed the bond and provided them, so he wasn't signing on behalf of all of them, but it was just for symbolism and for optics. It is now my singular honor and pleasure to invite His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu,
Thank you. Please be seated. I think it's too late for protocols. I stand on laid out protocol as enumerated by Eugene. And thank you very much for doing a fantastic job. We're about to close this 3-day cabinet retreat. Are we proud that we are Nigerians? Are we sure that we've done this? Is the responsibility of the permanent secretary clear in partnership with the commissioner? Is it clear? Are we one family? Are we? Thank you very much. Since we are one family and one nation, and we are in this vehicle together, to change the narrative and bring about economic prosperity of our country. Are we ready? The Renew Hope agenda is more than economic growth. Like I said at the opening, we can spend the money, but we cannot spend the people. We have a responsibility to our country to make sure we change completely the narrative about Nigeria. If we have problems, let's talk to one another. Let's have conversations, gentle conversations about our country. It's not about just leave me alone, I'm going home. You may not have a home. There's nothing you can do successfully without good health care, reduction in poverty. Like I said before, poverty is not a shameful thing, but it's not acceptable. Are we going to dig our people out of it? If you look at your background, no matter how wealthy you are today, there's a trace of poverty in it. So it's left for you and I to navigate this ship out of poverty. We have a lot of work ahead of us. I am confident. Now, with the attendance, concentration, you've seen the kind, the quality, and the character of ministers. You've seen it. You've seen the demonstration of knowledge from head of service to accountant general and other civil servants. Yes, we the politicians, we are the soldier go, soldier come. You are the permanent secretaries. But we have to live together. You have no choice. I hope that is clear. I've gathered here to shape the future. No threat about it. The responsibility we bear are not just titles. They are hope and aspiration of millions of Nigerians. You might be ready to forget about the rest of the world, but as a Nigerian, let's go out there. Let's bond together. And make sure our country is fully recovered from elephantiasis. Let me remind you that you are not here to make excuses. Neither am I. I'm your friend, your brother, a father, and a grandfather. We must put aside personal ambitions and focus on the progress of our nation. It is through this that we can be truly proud. I am proud standing before you. I'm very, very proud of every one of you. And I am proud of myself too. I went for election. I won with your support. They took me to court. I won. You have been here. Thank you very much. So we've been here, we've tinkered and tweaked focus areas. Area 1, reform the economy to deliver sustained inclusive growth. 2, strengthen national security for peace and prosperity. Boost agriculture to achieve food security. Unlock energy and natural resources for sustainable development. Enhance infrastructure and transportation as enablers of growth. Focus on education, health, and social investment as essential pillars of development. Accelerate diversification through industrialization, digitization, and creative industry, manufacturing, and innovative technology. I could hear two of the minister, Naji, and I would say the satellite is gone. But when say satellite is here, I like that. At least we are thinking. We are deep in what we are trying to achieve. That's a demonstration of knowledge. And I am sitting there as the chairman of Boundary Dispute Commission. It's just too interesting. And I know all of you are, you achieved the goal to end this retreat today because you want to be away for the weekend. No, not because you've exhausted the topic. But the only way to make it happen is to say, hey, we might extend this thing to Saturday or Sunday. So once they're here, they will do the job. I am glad you are doing it. And you've done it. So, today, I thank all of you. I want to obtain a promise from you. That promise is that we promise Nigerians that we are going to work for them. Is that true? That we are going to work together as a team? That's correct. And we are going to achieve for this country. Let us stand up and say, we are Nigerians. You are a Nigerian. We are Nigerian. God bless you.